Okay, so good morning, everybody. So this will be the video accompanying your PowerPoint presentation for the module one for our cheming laboratory. So this will talk about laboratory safety guidelines. There is a PowerPoint that comes before this video. Now this will just be a supplement to that PowerPoint presentation. Also, this video will also help you in answering the activity that comes after both. So some things you need to do or the tasks that you need to do for module one would be, of course, it says on your to-do list would be to go through the PowerPoint presentation. And then I added this, this is the second task. Excuse me, you watch this video and then after doing both tasks, then you need to do the activity. By the way, I'm giving you a week to uh, prepare the activity. Should there be questions, we have our group chat and our group page. Just send me a message and I would gladly answer your questions. So let's start with the orientation. This is like a first day orientation as well. So the mindset should be you are in a laboratory setting or we are inside a laboratory classroom or what we call our laboratory. So if you were in school, if this was a face-to-face interaction, I will be grouping you into like, if you guys are 40, I'm gonna group you into five, and then that's what I will have 8 groups. But I just hope you can imagine what I'm gonna be discussing the next few slides. I'll try my best to give you at least an idea on how we do it inside the laboratory. So it says here from the title, Lab Safety Guidelines. So this will talk about basic safety guidelines inside the laboratory. So we tried, I tried to isolate it to chemistry laboratory, but some of the concepts or some of the guidelines we'll also see here can be applicable to your laboratory classes in the future. So let's start with the first slide. So why does it matter? It here means why does safety matter? Because a safe working environment protects you, the priority, your classmates, cleaners, visitors, and of course your work. So let's just go through each in short descriptions. You are the priority. You are our client. You are our student. So we have to make sure that you are safe. So by doing so, we will be giving you guidelines on what you need to do inside the laboratory class. We will be giving you the guidelines, and it's up to you to follow them or not. Of course, I would always encourage you to follow all guidelines set so that it'll be a smooth laboratory class. Again, try to put yourself in like a position wherein we are inside the laboratory. The next, you are going to safety because you want to protect your classmates. Of course, uh, you cannot survive a laboratory class without your classmates. So if you're trying to make yourself safe, your classmates as well. Not only you go in and out of the labs, of course, we have our cleaners. Those will be those in charge of maintaining the cleanliness of the laboratory. We also have our lab custodian, and we also have our what they call your student assistants. So you also have to make it safe for them. It is also possible that we'll have visitors coming over. So um, even if it's just not for us, it's also for other people. So you might have creditors coming over, uh, Ma'am Dean coming over, um, a chairperson coming over. So it's also good to maintain that safety mindset that it should be a safe environment. And of course, your work. This is, well, of course, if you're not really very careful with what you're doing, it might affect your work. For example, as simple as a spillage, you're working with chemicals and then accidentally uh, you tip the beaker or the test tube, so it's going to spill under the pores. So that's extra effort, extra work. So it's also extra more time to prepare the report. So that's it. Let's try to relate it to what's happening now. Safety matters now because it's in the COVID environment, in this pandemic, we have to wear face masks. Now there's a face shield. So it's just not you protecting yourself, you're also protecting others. So I hope that mindset will work for you even if we're not inside the laboratory. But in the anticipation that someday when this is, better, the times are better, you might apply the following guidelines as we go along. Okay, so that's an exclamation point. So it says there, what are the general hazards inside the laboratory? So a different classification of hazards. We try to list, we listed some of those hazards here. Fire, breakage of glassware, sharps, meaning accidents caused by sharp objects. So we also have spillages, very common for experiments involving liquids, pressure equipment and gas cylinders, extremes of heat and cold, chemical hazards, biological hazards, radiation, and many, many more. Of course, it depends on the type of laboratory or the level of laboratory you have. So in our case, most of the time, my experience with a laboratory class would be breakage and then sharps and spillages. Especially if it's the rainy season, you can't help but have spillages also. I mean, not spillages from the chemical itself, but it's going to be a wet floor, so they have to be careful as well. In the event that you see like a puddle of water, please inform me or the laboratory custodian that we have to like put um, a rag to help you out or a rubber and silicone mat to prevent the spillage or the puddle of water. Okay, so I try to divide the module into different parts. I start with general safety. So these are safety guidelines, general safety guidelines that you might find in any laboratory. So let's see what I placed here. So first, of course, in anything, when you're doing an experiment and activity, listen to or read instructions carefully before attempting to do anything. You just don't go like, okay, guys, group number one, okay, or class, can you please get your materials or request your materials? And then you get your materials and do what you need to do without me instructing you. Well, let's not go to that. So, first things first, of course, if it's an activity or an experiment, you have to listen to or read instructions carefully before doing anything. In my class, if this was a laboratory class inside the campus, what I normally do is if we have an experiment, I would do it first. I would have you watch me or observe me doing it. I mean, I do it in the first hour. I usually would do the experiment first, and afterwards, do it. I think the term is demonstrate the experiment. And afterwards, I ask you to do it per group, or if it's an individual experiment, I will ask you to do it individually. And then I'll just be going around and helping out, facilitating the experiment. So it's always listening and reading together. It's just not reading, because sometimes if it's new to you and you just read it, you might not really get what I'm asking you to do for that experiment. Okay, just in case you're out on your own doing your experiment, and I'm in another group or in another part of the room, you have to notify me for any spills or accidents. Do not hide any spills or accidents. Okay, in any event that there should be something out of ordinary, please let me know. there's a spillage, or there's a breakage, please let me know. So also, this is after handling chemicals, always wash your hands with soap and water. Right now, this is already a practice not only in handling chemicals, but since we are in a COVID environment, make sure that after going out, coming from outside, you always wash your hands so as to avoid touching your face after you go outside. So always wash your hands with soap and water. Do the birthday song. I think you know that. You can sing happy birthday to you until you finish. That's, I think, the length of time you have to use for washing your hands. Okay, during lab work, keep your hands away from your face. Of course, it's chemistry. We're handling chemicals. So you have to like refrain from touching your face because normally what we just ask you to wear will be your laboratory gowns, and we don't really require you to have a face mask like what we have now, or goggles or gloves. So please prevent your hands from going to your face. Okay, tie back long hair. So if you have long hair like me, please put it on a ponytail. Why? Uh, when you're like bending over and you have your hair, it might, we have an experiment using a Bunsen burner or a heating experiment. Oh, come on. Uh, your hair might catch fire, and that won't be really nice. So roll up loose sleeves. I don't think this will be a problem since our uniform would be short sleeves, but in case that in the future you might be assigned in a laboratory and you have to wear long sleeves, please make sure that before doing the experiment you roll up your sleeves. And then, of course, this is a must. Actually, I feel that this should be one of the first few things that you have to know. Know the location of the fire extinguisher, the fire blanket, the eye wash station, and the first aid kit. We have all of them except the eye wash station, but for the laboratory, we have sinks um, positioned in strategically inside the laboratory. So we have a fire extinguisher, we have a fire blanket, we have first aid kits, of course, and there usually is a fire extinguisher orientation. I mean, how to use the fire extinguisher so that you guys will be well versed in using the fire extinguisher. So please make sure you know the location of those safety equipment. And then keep your work area uncluttered. Take to the lab station only what is necessary. I would recommend that for inside the laboratory, your bags will be on the same working area that you're using. Just keep your maybe your experiment copy, your pen, maybe a calculator, plus the materials that you'll be using for the experiment or activity. And also, it is suggested that you wear glasses rather than contact lenses. Well, this is so because if we have a heating experiment, the fumes might be trapped on your contact lenses. So if you can wear glasses instead of your contacts, that will be better. Number 10, never put anything into your mouth during a lab experiment. Of course, we want to prevent you ingesting something toxic. So please, as much as we can, do not put anything on your mouth during a lab experiment, even if it's just a candy. If you want to eat candy, please wash your hands first before you take that candy with you. And then clean up your lab area at the conclusion of the laboratory period. Of course, clean as you go or clay go, as we call it. Whatever mess you create, please tidy up after the laboratory period. And of course, this is very important. You guys are adults. Never horse around or play practical jokes in the laboratory. It's called horseplay. So you guys, I believe you are young ladies and young gentlemen already. So please avoid playing around as to prevent also small accidents. Well, it says here, do not apply cosmetics, eat or drink inside the lab. This is very important. So these activities are ways by which you can accidentally ingest harmful chemicals, such as that we just don't want to eating or drinking. Of course, for to maintain orderliness and cleanliness of the lab, of course, that's one. But the primary concern will be we don't want to ingesting something toxic or any harmful chemicals. So no eating, no drinking, and of course, no applying of cosmetics. So little powder will do, but not really full makeup. Okay, and still, this is still part of the general guidelines. Know how to dispose of waste. So dispose of all waste materials according to your instructions. So there will be specific waste baskets or trash bins for specific materials. If it's a liquid material, we usually provide you a beaker or a container. If it's really radioactive, but we don't have that, we'll need to put it on that yellow basket there. If it's there are different mm, trash bins for each type of waste material that we will be encountering. The sink, of course, will be used for non-toxic chemicals that can be washed with water, but if it's toxic and if it's already a combined solution of two chemicals, we will provide a separate container for those so that, and of course, it's your lab custodian who would be in charge of disposing those. But we will, of course, guide you on which trash bin to use. The second part of the module will be sharps, clothing, glassware, and chemical. Again, I'm repeating these are just basic guidelines. They may not cover a lot, but at least cover what's needed at our level for chemistry. Okay. For sharps, because what are the materials that we consider part of sharps? There will be needles, syringes. Let's move me somewhere here. So I'm blocking the PowerPoint. Syringes, glass slides, cover slips, pass-through pipettes, capillary tubes, scalpels, blades, and knives. So in one experiment, probably you'll be using some or one of those sharp materials. So they have to be what? So they have to be in safe containers. When you get them or when we keep them, they should be puncture resistant. They should be placed in like a housing or a container in it's puncture resistant. It's clearly marked. It should be easy to reach, filled to no more than 3/4 capacity, and should be sealed. These are in our Filipino language delicado because they might hurt you because they might puncture you. So those are the safety precautions in using sharps. Now, if moreover, if these are chemically contaminated sharps, sharps contaminated with hazardous materials must be placed in puncture-proof containers and sealed with a screw-on cap. Sorry. The container must be labeled as hazardous waste with associated chemicals identified, and always go to our laboratory custodian for disposal. Just in case, just in case you poke yourself with a sharp, make sure that as first aid you squeeze out that blood, and afterwards, oh, of course, if I am there, I would help you uh, go to the clinic. We have to go to the clinic right away. But make sure the first aid would be not to wash it. Don't wash it, please. Just squeeze out the blood as much as you can, and then afterwards, we will bring you to the clinic. And we have to be take note, we have to be alert on what punctured you and what chemical that puncture instrument came in contact with. Okay, cool. So next, protect your eyes. So yes, again, this is lately, this has been an issue of the face shield, but for the laboratory, for activities involving fumes or strong smell of chemicals that might um, affect your eyesight, please request for goggles, or we will be giving you goggles to protect your eyes. So appropriate eye protection must be worn at all times. Also, okay, I'll move myself again. So wear appropriate protective clothing. So you can see this. It looks like an American actor. I just forgot his name. You have to wear. This should be what we'll be using, like complete protective clothing. You have to have your goggles, your lab coat or your lab gown, your gloves, and of course shoes. Shoes. Later, I have a slide for shoes. So your clothing should cover your legs to the knees. Shorts are not appropriate for the laboratory. Instead of a lab gown, we can allow you to use lab aprons just to protect your clothing. And loose clothing should not be worn because it may dip into chemicals or fall into a flame and catch fire. So just make sure in our lab class, if you're wearing a laboratory gown and it has buttons, make sure that the buttons are really um, fastened. I forgot the term. They should be fastened up properly, not like use it as a blazer, like you're like doctors walking around. No, that is a laboratory gown, and its objective is to protect your clothing and you during the experiment. So make sure that you are wearing it properly. So here, I was a while ago, I was talking about shoes. So wear shoes that cover your feet. So this, of course, well, this is a little exaggeration. Of course, you won't be able to go to a class if you're wearing sandals, even if it's raining and it's a laboratory class. Just bring shoes with you that are not open-toed, or bring your school shoes. For example, it's like right now it's rainy season and you have to go to the lab, and but going to, let's say, your place, Holy Angel University, it's flooded, so you have to wear slippers. So make sure if it's a laboratory period or if it's a laboratory class, bring shoes which are like covered. So this, this are not allowed, but this are allowed. Sandals and open-toed shoes do not protect your feet from broken glass that is frequently found in the lab. Also, it's like leather shoes are very good because they protect your feet from chemical spills. Yes, canvas shoes do not, like fabric or canvas shoes, like rubber shoes. The chemicals might seep through or sometimes even burn it because it's fabric. So we usually wouldn't allow you to wear rubber shoes as well. For chemical safety, okay, please do not smell. Like if we have chemicals and it's like smell it, we are there to use the chemicals to mix some chemicals, but not to smell or taste it. Please, please. Uh, some of the chemicals are really harmful. So also, please, please, I am asking you not to mix chemicals together unless you are told to do so. Only follow the steps laid down in the experiment. Just say, for example, your experiment only has like 6 steps. You still have chemicals left. And out of curiosity, you want to mix them, please don't. Do not mix those chemicals, just dispose them. Okay? You wouldn't know what reaction might uh, come out of that mixture. Also, you wouldn't know, it might touch your skin, touch your clothing, and who knows what. So please just follow the steps laid down on your experiment and never mix chemicals together unless we ask you to. Okay? Just some like tips, not really tips, but some like basics that you have to know. In pouring liquid materials, please always pour from large containers to smaller ones. Okay, it's always like that. Or if a smaller container can actually do the work, transfer the content of the larger container to the smaller one. because smaller ones are easier to handle. Some of you have really small hands like I do. So if that small container can actually do the work of the large container, why not? For example, you're just mixing like in this picture, this is 400 ml, and then this small one's 400 ml as well. I guess you're just using the same picture. For example, you're just using 100 ml, and this beaker has like 400 ml capacity, and let's say this beaker has 800 ml capacity. You can just use the smaller beaker. Okay. Another reminder in doing experiments with acid and water, it's adding always it's acid to water, not water to acid. Okay, that will be the do. Always it's always adding acid to water, not water to acid. Okay, because it spoils the chemical reaction. So the reaction would happen if you add acid to water, not water to acid. Okay, now another set of rules, but now this is specific for glassware. Glassware meaning your test tubes, your beakers, your flasks, your pipettes, so your spatula, that's glassware. So let's just go through the guidelines. I think this are only 5. So please always check glassware for stars or cracks. When we give you or when we assign you the materials to be used and it involves glassware, please check it first for cracks or stars because chipped or cracked glassware should not be used. So you have to like report it to me or the lab custodian that this ma'am is has a crack, so we wouldn't be allowing you to use it. So we'll just replace it. I'll give you a one without those cracks or stars. Broken glassware should not be disposed of in a classroom trash can. Yes, please remember that. We have a special trash bin or disposal container for broken glass. When pouring liquids into glassware, make sure the container you are pouring into is resting on a table or at least a hand's breadth from the edge. For example, let's say this is a table. Make sure it's always flat. I don't have a glassware, but I have this with me. So for example, this is your glassware. Make sure that the table is flat. And always do not work with glassware at the edge of the table. You have to like a hands of, first, this is like a small table. Just make sure that it's not lying on the edge, never on the edge, okay? Flat and never on the edge. If a piece of glassware gets broken, do not try to clean it up by yourself. Notify me or the lab custodian. Do not place hot glassware in water. Yes, please don't do it. After using or heating a test tube and you want to wash it, please have it rest for a few minutes. Remove the hot temp, make it cool down or cool it down before washing it. So we're not in a hurry. 3 hours is more than enough time for you to finish an activity in the laboratory. For heating, okay, let's go. Let's move me again. So use tongs for handling hot objects. If you have a holder, we call this in the kitchen, we call this the pot holder. If you have it, please use it. If you have gloves, use it. Never reach across an open flame or burner. So, for example, we're heating something, never go across. Please just keep at least a foot distance from that burning flame. Always point the top ends of the test tubes that are being heated away from people. So, for example, you have a test tube. I don't have a test tube. Let's say this is a test tube and you're heating it from here. Never point this part to the face of your classmate, okay? No, no, no. Always away. Always away. And then only glassware that is thoroughly dry should be heated. Okay, make sure that, for example, you will be using a set of test tubes and you will wash it and then you will use it for a next step in the experiment. You need to make sure that it's thoroughly dry. So we have rags to dry them up. So please dry them up first. Heat glassware by placing it on a wire gauze platform on a ring stand. Do not hold it in your hand. So this is a stand wherein we can put your wire case, or whatever. So make sure it's just very simple. Never touch really heated objects right away. If you're like trying to tidy up, make sure you have them cool down. Okay. Now for the third part, it's know your safety equipment. For this one, I just want you to like, of course, make sure that you know where the safety equipment are. We have a safety shower in the laboratory. So usually in the corner near the teacher's table. So what's a safety shower? For example, there's like your clothing uh, caught fire, we bring you to the safety shower. Or there's a chemical that spilled on your clothing, that could be, we can use the safety shower. Okay. Please also make sure that you know the places or the locations of your fire extinguishers. We have two fire extinguishers. We have the green and the red fire extinguishers. One's for chemical fire, the other one's for regular fire. And we also have emergency exits. There are emergency exit plans that are posted in the laboratory. Make sure that you check them when we are inside the lab. Okay. For first aid, I place three slides here for first aid. These are common, simple, common accidents, small accidents that could happen inside the laboratory. First is burns. What happens? So, what is the first aid? You just immediately flush with cold water until the burning sensation is lessened, and always after that, the we will bring you to the clinic. Okay, but for first aid, you can use it also in your daily life. For example, you're cooking and there was like you burn yourself, you touch the pot and it's hot, just immediately flush your hands or the affected area with cold water. Another common thing or accident that happens will be cuts and bruises. So for cuts and bruises, never just do not touch an open wound without safety gloves. Pressing directly on minor cuts will stop bleeding in a few minutes. Apply cold compress to bruises to reduce swelling. So, for example, you cut yourself. Please do not allow your classmates doing the same experiment to touch your wound. Okay, we will be, of course, we will have to stop the bleeding, and then, of course, bring you to the clinic. And another one will be ice. So, for example, there's like your eyes got irritated by a chemical. What do we need to do? Flush eyes immediately with plenty of water for several minutes. Now, if a foreign object is lodged in the eye, please do not rub it. Okay, just allow it to. Do not rub it because rubbing your eyes will make it worse. So this is what we call napuwing. If you're napuwing, so please do not rub your eyes. So that's basically basically those are basically the guidelines that we would want you to remember for our laboratory class. I know we would actually appreciate if we were inside the laboratory, but of course, times are a little different now. But you might be able to apply the guidelines here to your classes in the future, just in case you have um, laboratory classes. So, just to end, just make sure that safety is very important. It's very important because uh, you are responsible also for the safety of others. You don't want anything happening to you. We don't want anything happening to you. So we need to help each other maintain a safe working environment. I hope there should be questions. Please jot them down and then we will be discussing it during our face-to-face. Also, I'm on FB. We have our group chat. You can also ask me there. This will be uploaded in YouTube so that you can go back to it every now and then. And of course, just to end, please do your activity in Canvas. It's activity A, general lab safety. There are 11 questions that you have to answer. So please do it. I'm giving you until Tuesday next week for the submission. Okay. So hopefully, I was able to like give you little tidbits of safety guidelines and information regarding our lab activity. Okay, so if you have no more questions, don't forget, guys, I'm not asking you to subscribe just for subscription, but please, if you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, please do so. Thank you so much, and have a nice morning. Thank you.